Hello and welcome to CIO Leadership Live in ASEAN. My name is Shireen Robert, editor of CIO ASEAN based in Singapore, and we're back for another episode in conversation with IT leaders across Southeast Asia and Hong Kong around leadership, innovation, and business strategy. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Idan Zalzberg, CTO of Agoda based in Thailand. Welcome, Idan.
Hi, Shireen. Great to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So for our audience who may not know you or Agoda, could you perhaps give us a little insight into yourself and your company?
Yes, of course. So my name is Idan, originally from Israel, but been in Bangkok and in Agoda for the last 10 years. Just a little about myself, always been into computers and science as a child, kind of these classic stories. Never had a doubt that this is what I should be doing. And I think that connection between kind of science, engineering, technology is what really, builds up my passion. So I met Omri and Itai. Today they are the CEO and the CTO of Agoda, respectively. I met them over 23 years ago when we actually studied together in the university. And about 12 years ago, we decided to build a startup company together. And that was doing various things. But I think the one thing that really got Agoda interested at the time was a machine learning approach to doing Google AdWords. So that company called Clika at the time was bought by Agoda about 10 years ago, almost to the date, 10 years ago. And this is how I arrived here and started kind of my journey at Agoda. And Agoda at the time was a young company, very successful business, one of the largest OTAs in Asia. But as a tech company, they were not really knowing their way. There was a lot of need and a lot of want from the management to become a tech company properly, to be data-driven, to be able to use technology in a way that will grow the business and really enable things that help us, build the best products for our customers. But the company wasn't really there. So I had the privilege of coming to a place that wanted to grow in technology, but was still not there. And that was really exciting times, like 10 years, starting from a small team of 4 people and over time growing, building things, building technology and data structures, data platforms, really from scratch, a really exciting journey. And over time, that's what happened. So we started to build more and more, a few machine learning apps, Spark frameworks, building bigger data platform, and so on. And so we grew within the company. And a year and a half ago, I was offered the CTO role for the company. And today I manage the entire tech team, which is about 1,600 engineers at this point.
Wow, so it's interesting. I don't think anyone actually thought of Agoda as a tech company. Myself personally, I'm a user of Agoda for my travel purposes. So I've always just known it as like an online travel services app in a way that I can just book hotels or flights through. So it's really interesting that you framed it and showed us that story from how it started. Really with the ambition of becoming like a tech company. So maybe you could go into a bit more of like what does actually digital transformation look like for the travel industry and especially for an online travel services provider like Agoda?
For sure. And I think that's the key, right? Because from a customer perspective, the easier and the simpler it looks, the more successful it is for us, right? We don't want to seem like a complex heavy operation that has a lot of technology behind it. Actually, the purpose of that technology is to make it seem simple, seamless, like works for me kind of thing. And that's really what we were been focusing on. So if you look at our journey, and by the way, there's something that Omri, our CEO, he says often, he says, we're a tech company that happens to do travel. And we love that because it also makes your mind open to the fact that we can do different things, and I'll talk a bit about other things we do that are travel related. But if you were we are a company that sells hotels, you would never think to do them. So just a bit of what this digital transformation meant for us. Travel is a great place for a scientist. Why? Because it's very transactional, right? People come in, they have some intent, they're looking to find their best vacation, the best travel they want to do, and you're trying to help them in that. So you have a lot of people coming in, looking for different things, and you're getting the feedback very quickly if what you're doing is good or bad, right? At the same time, you have a lot of changes, right? It's a complex product. Selling a hotel is a very complicated product to sell. There's many type of supplies, there's all these terms, prices are complicated. So it's actually a very good place to be scientific about it. And one of the things we built early on was our experiment platform. So today, if you're going into Agoda, there's actually at any point in time about 1,000 experiments running in parallel. You don't see that, but there's actually 1,000 experiments across the stack of Agoda happening at any point in time that we collect to understand what really makes people enjoy the process more. And actually, because there is 1,000 experiments, a usual user would usually go for about 70 of them. Now, if you do the math, you would understand that because there's about 70 of them and the number of permutations is exponential, it actually means that nobody has ever used the same Agoda as someone else. It's always unique. There's so many experiments and so many changes that the configuration that you got as a user is completely unique. Nobody has ever seen exactly that configuration of changes. That's how many changes we actually test at the same time. And again, because we're a large-scale international business, we have enough data to make decisions on how to change it, how to make it a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So when you come in and you say, oh, I just use it to book my hotels and my flights and whatnot, then you feel it's like it was always meant to be this easy and simple. And actually, it's been a process that's been taking a very long time to build. And of course, those areas that are very much behind the scene that you don't see, like how do we do recommendation? How do we do ranking? How do we make sure that, again, it speaks to whatever you are looking for, where there's so many options and this is such a complex product.
And as I mentioned, I'm a user of it myself. So I sometimes do notice that there is certain sort of customization when it comes to my experience of the app. And some other people I know will probably have a different experience, as you mentioned, because you do that customization for them. And it's amazing to see really what goes on behind the scenes and then what gets presented to the user itself. So yeah, it's great that you shed some light on that. But as a company that really relies on data to draw those insights and create that experience, obviously COVID would have caused a huge blow. With travel in general, it just took a dip. No one could travel. So I'm interested to hear how you managed to cope in that time, in terms of like the challenges and in retrospect, what lessons you may have drawn from that experience, and essentially, how did technology play a role in sustaining the business or your services?
Yeah, great question. I would say that the biggest learning is like, don't take anything for granted, right? Like we always said, like, travel is going to be big. Travel is going to be a big industry. There's no way the travel itself as an industry could just like disappear in one day, right? And that's exactly what happened. Travel just disappeared. And redefined itself almost overnight, right? And for us that core markets are in Asia, it was even faster than the rest of the world, and in some ways more strongly. So that was definitely a big learning for me, is that, the key to having a strong company and a strong team is not about being ready for everything, but actually not by thinking about it from the start, but by having the right flexibility and the resiliency that whatever happens, you can adjust. Now, how do you get to that is really about having not only the right technology, the right setup, the ability to move, the ability to move fast, the ability to experiment and change, but also have the people. Like I really learned to appreciate, we talk a lot about culture and the spirit of the team and ownership. It's something we talk about a lot in Agoda, but I never saw it in action as much as I did in COVID. Like everybody just saying like, I'm there, like, and let's do this and let's do the best thing. And we released so many new products during COVID, like never before. For example, handling all the quarantine requirements of different countries and making sure that we change our forms to collect the data and do whatever is needed. We released new products about special offers because there was a time where people actually prefer to do domestic, and many hotels wanted to offer additional services. We called it Agoda special offers, where you can have like additional services from hotels. And we also had co-funding campaigns with governments. Once the market started opening up, Many governments wanted to actually contribute, inject money into the travel industry, and not many OTAs could become a partner of that because there was many rules at what case are eligible and whatnot. So there, our ability to move fast, make changes in large scale, which I think is really our secret sauce, to do like high velocity and large scales at the same time, really showed us the value of that. But again, like I can't understress like how important it is, like having that team spirit, that kind of family. It wasn't also if you look at COVID at the same time, you remember there was a booming in crypto, there was a booming in other places, like travel was dead and everything else was booming. And like there's a lot of people that said like, like travel is not great, but I love this company. Maybe today is not the best industry to be in, but I love being part of this company, part of this family. And that really saved us, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, that certainly must have been a tough time. But yeah, it's really trying to draw the optimism out of a very pessimistic situation. So it's really great to hear the team really came together in that time. And of course, once we came out of COVID, I guess the world was really a much more different place than what it used to be. And in terms of technology itself, we had so much like emerging technologies and new innovation that came into the fore. Obviously, Gen AI was something that came up late last year, and now it's really AI is the conversation that most people are actually having with their organizations. So in terms of Agoda's perspective, how have emerging technologies like AI impacted the way you do business and serve customers?
We love it. So for us, this is great because again, like we are all about moving fast, adapting, and gaining, looking at something new, definitely in the technology space, and finding out how we can utilize it for the benefit of our customers. Now, if you look specifically about our world, so first of all, AI in general, we've been doing for many years, ranking, recommendations, or personalizations, all these things that we talked about. But Gen AI really opened up a whole new box of toys for us to play with. And we were almost overwhelmed with new ideas. We did a hackathon with like 400 engineers coming up with, hundreds of ideas. So we were overwhelmed a bit, like, oh my God, like how do we even, like, where do we start? And I think one of the things we did pretty early on is we set up our own framework. We called it the inside out approach to AI, which is slightly different from what you see. One of the things that we felt is that, we see a lot of companies going to build like kind of like these trip planners that are very kind of like from the top, like what is your dream vacation and so on. And we believe that actually you should start from the other end. Start from within. That's what we call like the inside out. Start from your own employees. They work with textual problems all day long. They summarize text. For example, our customer support agents spend a reasonable amount of their time just summarizing cases. They could be helping people, but instead they're busy, typing summaries. So we can take that away from them, right? We can look at things like people that the developers that code, that ask questions, people supporting, doing support tickets, all these cases where there is a knowledge base and people need to work against it, we can help them by making it faster. So we saw a huge opportunity, first of all, within, from the productivity perspective. And only then we wanted to go and get closer and closer to the customer and not try to force a new interface on the customer they might not be ready for, right? So we called it like empower, enhance, evolve. We start with empowering your people, giving them the AI tools, and we built like 50 or so tools across the board, marketing teams, developers. We put ChatGPT in Slack, answering questions about our knowledge base and so on, just a long list of that. And only when you feel like you've done like a bunch of that, you go to do the enhance, where you take our website, our platform as it already is, but you enhance it with AI. What does that mean? It means, for example, look, we already have in our property page where you book you select your hotel, we already have a place there where you can ask a question to the hotel. You can ask a question, do you support, can I bring a pet? Now that goes to the hotel and they answer, can take a few hours, can take a day, sometimes they don't answer. It's tricky, right? So what we do is we go there and say, you know what, let's also have the option to give an AI. We know a lot about the hotels. Actually, more than 90% of the questions that people ask, we actually have the data. It's just so much data that you cannot know what they're going to ask. So this is where we really see a huge value for the customer to be there when they have specific questions and helping them get the answer and make a better decision. And, I think that going forward, travel is one of the best places for AI because there's just so much textual content. If you think about, everything we know about the accommodation or the flight, the location, the reviews, there's just so much data that there's no way you can consume it as a human, right? The whole thing. But if you have a specific need, if you can converse with the data, as we like to say, in the world of Gen AI, if you could converse with that data, you can make so much better and so much relevant decisions for you. So I believe that there's a huge opportunity still coming up, both in the search process, but also, of course, in the support case. But we're just starting to touch the iceberg on that. Yes, so we started from within. We're now starting to enhance the customer experience, and maybe at some point in the future, the whole interface would look differently. We don't know, but what we do know is there's a huge value that you can get right now from AI, and we're going for it full power.
I think that really speaks to the demands of consumers today, where it's about speed and also really just having improved experiences all around. So it's good to see that you have invested the time and energy into building that for your consumers. So I'm actually really looking forward I'm a user myself, and this is not sponsored by Agoda. I have to tell the audience that, but I really do enjoy my experience on the app. So thank you for everything that you've delivered for consumers like us. And just to wrap up this conversation, I guess, because at the time of this filming, we are closing out the year. So looking towards the new year, anything you're looking forward to building with Agoda?
Yeah, sure. So we have a few big things coming up. Our strategy. First of all, we started to do this year the white label, our white label, which is quite exciting to me as a CTO because this is where we sell our technology directly. So you might not see it as a consumer because it's white label, right? So you think, for example, we have a deal with Citibank, and there are some big providers, and some of them I cannot speak of yet, that are coming up. But this is, for me as a CTO, is really a show of trust in our technology, right? Because when you are a white label, it's not about your brand anymore. It's about your technology. And so that's very exciting, and we see quite excitement from future possible partners. So I think next year is going to be very exciting on that. On the internal, as you mentioned, we used to be just accommodation. Today we do flights, we do activities. So we're definitely looking to grow these other kind of funnels, but also start connecting them in a much better way. Eventually, if you look at our vision, we want to be your partner in travel, right? We want to be something that the entire kind of travel experience is powered by Agoda. And there's much more we can do. And obviously, as we talked about, AI can be a big part in helping making those connections and making it a smooth interface for you. So that will also see a lot of new things coming up in 2024.
That sounds awesome. Well, it's been so lovely to chat with you, Idan, and thank you for sharing yours and Agoda's story with our audience. And I'm certainly looking forward to your next phase of growth, and I hope more people continue to find out a bit more and learn more that you're more than just a travel company, but really a truly technology company. So thank you so much for your time, Idan.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.